and she's talking about your daughter and the month of October.
My daughter's father was born in October.
Okay, and is he here in this world?
No.
So he's coming through now.
That was the psychic lawyer Mark Anthony using his gift as a medium to connect to people on the other side. His new book, The Afterlife Frequency, discusses the scientific proof of spiritual contact and how that can help people dealing with grief. Good morning to you, Mark.
Morning, Deborah. Thank you for having me back on Great Day Houston. It's an honor.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I want to start off with something that's kind of just circulating in the news and has been for the last few years. Halloween. You know, I remember when I was a kid, it was about costumes and candy. And now we see a lot of schools canceling those events at school, instead opting for a fall festival. And I think sometimes we do that without really understanding what the holiday is. We just kind of do things and it gets kind of confused. Tell us what Halloween is.
Halloween is an amalgamation, a combination of a lot of different things. Samhain, which is the basically where Halloween originated in the British Isles, people believed at this time of year, you know, we're going from fall into winter. So symbolically, it was the transition between life and death. Mm-hmm. And so people saw, as winter was approaching, they felt that the veil between our world and the other side was thinning. And they're also afraid that negative spirits would be walking the earth. So people would carve scary faces and gourds. This is where gargoyles come from, to frighten away the scary spirits. And then a group of people would put on masks, horrific masks and costumes, and walk around towns in Britain to frighten away spirits, and grateful people would give them little sweet cakes. This is where trick or treat comes from.
Yeah. So somewhere along the way, we made it a happier holiday. Okay. The closest people get to death is what we call near-death experiences, and you get a lot of information from that. So are people physically dead in those moments?
Yes, and sometimes no. In near-death experience research, and I go very heavily into this in my new book, is that many times people will clinically die and they flatline. And the thing is, Deborah, these have been reported for thousands of years. They baffled physicians, they baffled religious leaders, because then these people would come back to life. They would resurrect, if you will, and talk about going through a tunnel into this bright white light, encountering the spirits of deceased loved ones, and even the divine power that we call God.
Yeah, that happened to you. It happened to me when I had my brain aneurysm, and I just kind of lost a few days. I don't know what happened during that time.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, so it's happened to you, it's happened to me. It's much more widespread than people are aware. And in the last 50 years, we've had International Association of Near-Death Studies, the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, and now we're applying the scientific method to objectively analyzing this. And the conclusion, Deborah, is that our consciousness, who and what we are, survives physical death and remains coherent. In other words, our soul lives on after physical death.
It's kind of like an idea in science that energy never dies. It can come back in other forms, but it never dies. Mark, with all of your books, I got to tell you, to friends of mine who have lost loved ones, this has been such a wonderful, I don't know how to put that. It's been a wonderful thing for them to work through their grief. Let me just say that. It brought a lot of comfort. And that's kind of one of the key takeaways with this new book, The Afterlife Frequency, as well.
Thank you.
Mark, could you hear me?
Oh, yes. I can. One of the new concepts, Deborah, that I've introduced in this book is what's known as the electromagnetic soul. And that describes what we really are, which is pure consciousness, a soul, a spirit, that is eternal electromagnetic energy. And I go into great depth explaining the scientific studies and how quantum physicists are now explaining this. And Deborah, one of the benefits of the afterlife frequency is I'm introducing the 4-step raft technique that anyone can use to help people recognize the signs from spirits, accept the contact as real, feel it without fear, and then trust in the message. And this applies not just to, contact through a medium, but maybe when you have a dream or you feel the presence of a loved one, or if you're trying to make sense out of your near-death experience or a deathbed vision. And deathbed visions are very widely reported now, where someone is transitioning. Maybe they're terminally ill, and they will start talking about seeing spirits of their deceased loved ones, and people in close proximity, family, close friends, hospice workers, also start picking up on and seeing these.
Yeah.
And so these are all based on sound scientific principles. And that's one of the many reasons that I wrote the Afterlife Frequency.
Yeah, we just have to pay attention to what's happening around us. Mark, it's fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We miss you.
Thank you. Happy Halloween to everybody in Houston, and many blessings.
All right. Mark's new book, The Afterlife Frequency, is available in Houston at Body, Mind, and Soul, or visit greatdayhouston.com and we'll connect you to his website.